The players are making the content. Everybody is a creator today. They're all remixing your ideas. They're moving your story forward. So that means that brands need to be okay relinquishing some of that control. Welcome back to Brands and Play, your podcast for everything immersive marketing. I'm Albane Prioux, strategic marketing consulting.
And I'm Nick Hill, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Sawhorse. This week on the show, Walmart is bringing commerce to ChatGPT. WPP announces a 5-year partnership with Google AI. McDonald's has a new Street Fighter 2 collab. And e.l.f. tests shoppable Amazon ads on Twitch.
And for our real-time review, I'm really excited to share with you the Sesame Street neighborhood adventure that's now on Roblox. It looks incredible, so I'm really excited to tell you more about it.
I'm looking forward to that. And later, we'll be sitting down with Magali, Huot, the SVP of Global Gaming Strategy at Dentsu, to find out how one of the biggest holdco agencies in the world is approaching video game marketing.
That's right. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow the show. Let's get into it.
Albane, what's up?
I'm good. How are you? How's your week been?
Good. Busy week, lots of cool stuff. We won another award from
Another one.
Yeah,
Another
I
one.
needed to make more room, more space behind me on my shelf. Needed
Exactly.
more awards. But yeah, really honored for this one. This is for the Hollywood and Pixels Digital Film Marketing Campaign Award Ceremony. Our Sinners project, Warner Brothers,
Amazing.
we got
Great.
a bronze. So yeah, always happy to get these awards. Always thankful that when the industry recognizes cool, innovative work.
Yes.
And
That's
then
so good. Congrats.
Thank you. And also last week I was up in San Francisco for a day. I went to a AI marketing conference,
Ooh,
eh,
okay.
which was interesting. It was just all these different CMOs and leaders from these big brands talking about and different AI companies, basically talking about how AI is like affecting every single part of the marketing world. Everything from like the early stages of strategy to gathering data and then asset creation and everything involved.
Exactly. I mean, we'll deep dive. I feel like a lot of our news this week is AI focused. So why don't we deep dive into some of the things that are happening for a lot of agencies and brands around that?
Yep, let's crack into it. Let's go to the news. So for my first story, I have Walmart bringing commerce to ChatGPT. Did you see that this week?
I have, yes. I've followed Justin on LinkedIn, so I saw a few things coming up from his feed. But tell me more about it because I knew you were going to talk about it, so I haven't delved into what it meant and
Yeah,
what does that look like
it's
essentially for
really
them.
exciting, and it's something that we talked about at that AI conference a lot. But essentially,
Okay,
Walmart has partnered with OpenAI to bring commerce inside of ChatGPT, and they're describing it as a AI first shopping experience. So this first it's coming out pretty soon. They didn't say exactly when, but probably in the next couple weeks or so.
okay,
So it's available to Sam's Club members first, and then they're going to roll it out more broadly.
nice.
But they're really talking about this shift in a retail experience from being reactive to proactive. And this is the quote I thought was really interesting. They're saying it learns, plans, and predicts, helping customers anticipate their needs before they do. So I don't know, does that scare you or do you think that's cool?
I think it's quite. I mean, it's quite good because it's Walmart at the end of the day, so they probably will know. I don't know. You go through 2 cartons of milk every week, therefore they might prompt you that it's time to buy it again. Or I don't
Proactive.
know. I feel like Amazon does that a little bit already, where they have like push notification, but it's not as perfect. So maybe this is something that will make the experience better. I don't mind that. I don't mind. I think.
Yeah, no, it could be helpful. And I think you got to give props to Walmart because historically they've led commerce in immersive platforms. I just want to, kind of point out how they're rolling out the Unity SDK. So basically, any game that is running on Unity can incorporate the ability to sell Walmart products inside. So that's at scale. And then in addition to that, in the UDC gaming platforms, they're also leading. And this is work that Sawhorse and Geek partner with Roblox on or Walmart on in order to bring commerce into Roblox, Zepeto, and Spatial. So
That's
this is
right.
like just more of this innovative commerce leadership that the company is doing. And I think what's interesting to me is that this is a new kind of shopping. This is like an agentic sort of AI shopping. If you think about the concept of shopping and commerce, it's like, it's all based on search. So right now, users like go onto the internet, they search for a brand, they go to websites, they get to see all the different options. They kind of pick what they want and then they just hit purchase and it shows up at their house. That's something that works. It's something that people really like.
Yes.
So this is a shift to where you're having conversations with ChatGPT in your daily life, and maybe all of your shopping will happen inside of ChatGPT. So not only can you like review different clothing items and make your purchases inside of that, but the agent will know who you are and what kind of style you like and what you need in your life. And it should be curating all these options for you and then pitching those solutions. So, can you imagine where we have a world where we don't go to websites to shop anymore? It's all happening with our agents and our AI. What are your
I think
thoughts?
that is probably closer to a reality than we think. I feel like the number of people that are now deciding on the shopping behavior, I feel like it really is changing, the initial funnel that we have, which is like the awareness of the product, engagement, etc. I think like now you have a much shorter time frame where you can get the information through ChatGPT, tell them exactly what you want, and it gives you recommendation. And I think the last bit is probably the purchase that needed to be solved. But I think at some point there's obviously going to be a shift in how brands are thinking about their D2C, their websites, the content that they put together to make sure that people can find more easily, or those LLMs can find more easily the information that's going to make them recommend product to consumers. So, and just to point out, you right on Walmart, where they've been leading when it comes to immersive platform like Roblox and Zepeto, as you mentioned. And I think it's really important to remember that even back in e-commerce, beginning of e-commerce, they were already leading, and they are one of the largest e-commerce retailers as well, behind Amazon. So it's a good signals for other retailers that if Amazon is doubling down within these types of platform and these type of new shopping experiences, this is because there's enough data on their side to say that this is a new way that people and new consumers are going to want to shop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is definitely going to be successful, and I think there's going to see a lot of quick adoption. So let's keep an eye on it. But what do you got for your story?
Well, very aligned to your first story, but this is with WPP that this week has announced a 5 years partnership. They already had a partnership with Google, but this is an extension of their existing partnership. 400 million partnership with Google that essentially is going to embed their AI products such as Gemini and other video generator like Veo within the WPP owned AI. So that's called WPP opened. Um, Something to, I guess, highlight before we into deep dive into the partnership itself. WPP has been, I would say, struggling for the last couple of months, and actually their share price has been at the lowest since 28. So since the financial crisis of 28, I think a lot of reason behind has been loss of clients. I think they haven't been able to catch up with a lot of other agencies like publicists that are doing really well at the moment around adapting their processes and offering involving AI. So WPP is now catching up with their new CEO, Sandy Rose. And this is the first partnership that she's doing and the first initiative to essentially bring back WPP to the excellence and I guess the growth that we know them to have. To deep dive a little bit into what this partnership is going to entail, it's essentially, I guess, an integration on a lot of the Google AI tools within their own processes. But they also are putting a focus in a lot of the press release I could find in the production of content. And this is something that Nick, we discussed. I think that was one of my bets actually, which was one of the, I guess, the objective behind it is being able to create more content that's going to be more customized to consumers, meaning that you might have a main video, a main storyline, but maybe the storyline changes slightly or the messaging slightly, and it is a lot more tailored to the individual that is consuming that content.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think every agency, every company needs to be leveraging AI into their workflows, and I think it's smart when you partner with like the AI leaders and you leverage the models that they have and the offerings that they have. So yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Mm, absolutely. What do you have next?
So next, I have a fun one, a short one, but it's McDonald's. They have a new partnership with Street Fighter 2, which is like the coolest thing I've seen in a while. So there's these new commercial spots that have come out, and they look exactly like the old school 16-bit Street
Yeah.
Fighter 2 game. Have you seen these?
I have, yes. They are amazing. They're
They look
really cool.
super dope. It took me right back to 1991 when I bought the Super Nintendo game of Street Fighter 2 and brought it home, and put it in my Super NES. Uh, it was awesome. So this campaign is definitely leaning into nostalgia. There's a ton of
Yes.
people online that are talking about it that are having a lot of fun with it, and it's essentially promoting 3 new burgers that have come out, each one inspired by a different character. So Ryu, he's got the burnt garlic mayonnaise and egg teriyaki burger. Chun-Li, he's got the fried chicken and sweet and sour mayo sandwich. And Ken, he just has a triple cheeseburger, which I'm not mad at. Um, but if you think that some of those descriptions of burgers are a little odd, you would be right. Those are Japanese inspired sort of flavors that you see at the burger joints out in Japan, like Mos Burger and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're awesome. But this campaign is only for Japan. So this, unfortunately, if you don't live in Japan, you won't be able to like take advantage of the food or the campaign. But yeah, what do you think about all this?
I love it. I think it's quite interesting. You know, Japan, the Japanese market for like for gaming with we know that they are a little bit maybe more traditional. Like with Nintendo, like there is a lot of nostalgia in the game that they play. Like the top games are still within the Switch. So I don't know. And they still had like a very like arcade culture there. Uh, all classic games there. So I just feel like this just feels right for the market. And again, it goes back to what you and I often talk about. It really you can every brand can get into gaming, but McDonald has been very clever at, you know, if we do something in the US, let's do something on Fortnite. And if we do something in Japan, well, actually, let's tap into nostalgia culture because we know that this is what works. They've really been adapting their gaming strategy to the markets that they are targeting. So I still recommend people you can still find the videos online. So go check them out because I thought they were really cool, like really funny.
Yeah,
And the triple cheeseburger is calling my name, so I'm very, very sad that this is not coming here.
yeah, they're badass. What do you got? Last story.
So last story, also a short one, but I thought that was actually really groundbreaking and a platform that we don't speak about a lot, which is Twitch. So the beauty company e.l.f. Has for the first time tested shoppable Amazon ads on Twitch. So this is the first time that they are rolling out this type of ads, and e.l.f. is the first brand to essentially make the most out of it. You can now have an ad that allows you to buy the product directly onto Twitch without having to get out of your live stream or the content that you're currently watching.
Do you think the Twitch community, Twitch users want to shop while they're using the app?
I feel like because, I think Twitch is a little bit different, I would say, than like VOD, where you are very focused on the content, and every time an influencer is telling you a product, very like it happens. Like there's always going to be product where you like, let me continue and open a new tab to be able to get information about this product. For Twitch, or at least is purely anecdotal. It's something that I have on the background on a second screen and then I'm doing something else
Yeah.
because you're in there for hours, so I don't think people like active like there's a few moments probably of, hype moments where people are really engaged and that they're on the chat. But I feel they probably have a live stream, a companion on their second screen. And it could be something that for the right product and obviously the right consumer, it could be that actually the product responds exactly to a need. I think I'm more interested to see how Amazon is. We were talking about Walmart and how they are going to gather, I guess, insight to know if and when someone needs a product. Amazon has similar kind of volume of data, and I think this is the first time that I'm seeing I guess the Amazon technology making it onto on Twitch. I feel like Twitch has always been a little bit like separate to the Amazon family. So maybe there is something that can be a little bit more connected. I don't know. I think I haven't seen any of these ads, so I don't know how the UI works at the moment. But I'm hoping that this is something that's, you know, they're aware that the person hadn't bought a specific product, and if that ad comes up, that may be a more likely chance for them to buy it. Not sure how that will play out, but I feel like this Twitch is the right platform to probably shop,
Yeah.
compared to like a VOD.
Yeah, I think if you do something that's, like, heavily targeted, you know, it's
Yes,
like
yeah,
this
yeah.
type of game, and we got streamers covering that, and it's items that are relevant to that, that are limited, that are available on Amazon,
Mhm.
like, you make that connection, and then you get a lot of traffic, and you get those direct sales. I think something like that makes sense. I think, selling toilet paper, or something on in this way, like, I don't think anyone is gonna do that, so let's see what happens.
No, probably not. It probably will be like, I don't know. We'll see. Like, I think that's where e.l.f. I'm not too sure how had that perform. I'm assuming because they're not shouting out about the numbers that it's not, we're not talking about millions of units that have been sold, but I think it's still quite interesting because I think Twitch was,
You
you
gotta
know,
start somewhere with
you got to start
innovation and
somewhere. And I
innovative
think this is the
commerce.
first innovative thing that we're seeing from Twitch coming up in a while. So I'm excited for the platform because I think it was getting eaten by the TikTok lives, YouTube lives in general. So
Yeah.
maybe a resurgence. Let's see.
Yeah, we'll keep our tabs on it. But let's keep moving. I'm excited because Albane, I'm a fan of Sesame Street. It's been around forever, and it's impacted my life, my kids' lives, and
Yeah.
I'm curious about this real time review. So, Albane, please take us to Sesame Street. Let's go to the real time review.
Let's go. So, as you mentioned, this week I am reviewing Sesame Street's Neighborhood Adventure. So, I've did a bit of research. So, I'm obviously familiar more with the Cookie Monster and I think like separate characters, but I've never watched the show because it's I think it's more popular. It's an American show, so I didn't get a chance to grow up with it. But what caught my attention immediately is, and I'll go into it in the pros, but that was the quality of the design that was made. So that's the first thing that caught my attention, and I'm just gonna give you a bit of a debrief on what the experience is. So it's on Roblox. It is a 5+ experiences, and I think that does make a lot of sense with the target audience that they have. So they're looking to engage with not the 13+ audience that we know Roblox has a lot of. They are targeting the 8-year-old, the 5-year-olds, the really young adults that are currently on this platform, and probably tapping into the nostalgia of parents like you, Nick, that might have seen the IP previously, and tapping into that. So at the moment, they have 1.7 million visits, which I would say is quite good, knowing that it has just recently launched. For people that are a bit like me and didn't know the background, I just wanted to give a bit of insights on the series itself. So, Sesame Street is an American educational children TV series. So, it's known for the TV, for being on TV. It started in 1969, so quite an old IP. And it's essentially an educational show to teach preschool children about how to make friends, how to be on like live in society, like different like really interesting topic. And the characters that are in this show are puppets, and they are known as the Muppets. And I think this is some of the characters that we know them more for. So tapping into that in nice nostalgia, and there are four key characters that I think are quite beloved. But Nick, let me know. We have Big Bird,
Yes, he's
Elmo,
the most
Cookie
famous one.
Monster. Yeah,
Big Bird's the
exactly.
most famous one.
Cookie Monster is the one that I'm more familiar with, but because it's on Family Guy a few times,
Yeah,
so
he's kind of
I'm
crazy, but he's up
yeah,
there.
so I'm more familiar with Cookie Monster because it's made it to other IPs that I'm more familiar with, and then Oscar the Grouch. And what the game is about, you have essentially you interact with several characters. There's a lot of tasks that you have to do, and you then collect stickers. You have an album of stickers. So again, it really plays into the nostalgia of I still remember I did that, like collecting stickers and exchanging it with your friends. So it really plays into that nostalgia for parents in the hope that they would, um, you know, allow or prompt their children to play that game. What is also really interesting is that they have two separate worlds that are connected. And they have two portals for, I would say, more complex, or maybe a little bit of an older. I don't think 5 year olds will be. I might be mistaken, but I feel like this is more for an older, like maybe 8 year old audience. So they have two separate worlds that is connected to this main one that have mechanics that are a little bit more complex. They're called Sesame Street Mecha Building, which is also referring to the iOS app, and then Sesame Street Mechanic Big Bestie. So that's quite interesting. Again, like they've made two things that were a little bit more complex in case the audio, like the person that's playing, wants something a little bit more challenging. That what is the main game, which is essentially finding stickers in the game and talking to characters. So what was good? I I think this is the first time where I was really actually no, first time was what you guys have done with Train Your Dragon, but this is probably the second time where I'm really amazed of the level of quality of graphics that you can have on Roblox. When I saw the trailer, I immediately knew that I wanted to do our review on this one because I think I would advise any brand that's currently a bit skeptical about how their brand is going to be perceived, and they still think that Roblox is very blocky, very cartoonish. Go check this experience out because it really shows you the level of graphics that you can get. It really is like nothing I've seen before, on probably on like what you guys have done with Train a Dragon, but it really is on the same level, I would say.
I had the same thought 100%. When I saw it, I was like, "Is that a Roblox game or is that a different like, is that a mobile like,
I
what am I
That is
looking at?"
exactly it. When I saw the trailer, I was like, this is not on Roblox.
It's so good.
But it is. and,
It looks
and
fantastic.
it's really fantastic. The other thing that I thought, it really felt like a proper game that you could have on Steam. The other thing that I thought was really great, my pet peeve sometimes is that we have a lot of dialogues with characters on other games, but they're not dubbed. So you have to read the text and the exchange between your character and their character. All of the exchange are dubbed. So there's a voiceover that reads essentially the text that the character is telling you. So this is another, like, I guess, even more resources that they've put into it, but it just made everything a lot more immersive and what you expect when you're engaging with a character in any other AAA games. When it comes to the like, was it like what was bad? Was it innovative? Outside of, I would say, the high fidelity, like it's not a new concept to bring like a TV show for kids onto Roblox. I think more and more IP are doing that at the moment. So I wouldn't say that it is particularly innovative. I think while I really like the fact that it was considering the nostalgia and, like, I guess the candidness of the environment, that they were probably more targeting parents to make sure that they knew that this was a safe environment for their children. I think they could have at least have some free UGC element. Everything was about collecting stickers. I don't know, and I don't know if this is something that's just as a whole the Roblox community, even the 5 year olds, are really drawn to. I think it's quite sweet, but I feel like they should have had added a little bit of a UGC, like a free UGC element, just to, I guess, just respond to the culture on how in general users are engaging and how they feel rewarded. So that was my only, I would say, bad side. But because this is targeted to 5 year olds, I just felt like this was a proper, well-rounded experiences. My only comment would be like digging into a little bit what are the key motivator of the community, even the 5 year olds. I think they still want to customize the avatar after spending a bit of time in the environment. And I think that was a bit of a miss for me.
Well, one question I have for you was, is it educational, the experience? Because the content, the show is all based, it's a straight up educational show where kids are learning about the
So
alphabet
there's
and
a
math and
few,
stuff.
I would say it's more because you're helping every character. So I like I'll have to probably re-engage with it in a way to understand. Like, I think I've played maybe like half an hour. Like the first half hour of gameplay for now are more about meeting all the characters. There are a few that already teach you lessons around sending letters to your friends, sending them love so you can get stickers in return, or helping someone to find a lost object so they give you a sticker in return. It's a lot of like, I guess, little services. I'm sure there's, I guess, as you engage with the game, maybe there will be more like powerful, pertinent lessons. But for now, it's been very like surface level.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, I'll have to jump in and check it out because
It's great, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I thought just because it's really pretty, and again, like, everything is dubbed, so I was just like, you just listen
that's
to the text and
that's a great
it
learning. Yeah,
it is,
nobody
yeah.
wants to read. Like, no one wants to read inside these games, especially,
No,
like, younger
and
kids, so that's a
it just
smart move.
makes it's that additional level of detail that just makes it even more engaging, that I think, that is my pain point, by the way, with all the Switch. A lot of Switch, games are not dubbed. They are, like, with the text and, like, a little, like, mousy micey noise in the background. So I just love that they went that additional layer to actually dub everything. It just made everything a lot more immersive and engaging with the characters. And let's move on to our interview. We are so excited to have Magali Huot, the Senior Vice President of Global Gaming Strategy at Dentsu. So let's have her on the show.
Let's go.
We are delighted to welcome today Magali Huot, Senior Vice President of Gaming at Dentsu. Before joining them, Magali was the Global Content and Partnership Lead for game publishers at YouTube Gaming. She brought her passion for game and expertise to Dentsu to help brands create innovative and impactful solutions in the gaming space. We're really excited to have Magali join us today to discuss how large agencies like Dentsu are integrating gaming as part of their clients' marketing strategy. Magali, welcome to Brands and Play.
Thank you so much, Albane. What a nice intro. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're so excited to have you today. We have so many topics and questions that we'd love to deep dive on. But first, I would love maybe for you to give our listeners an introduction of a bit more introduction, I guess, on your background and what you do currently at Dentsu.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm going to start off by saying that I always like to say that I started my career at age 6 when I picked up my first video game because I've been really obsessed and single-minded since then. So I knew this space would be my career
Yours.
trajectory. And like you
What was the
mentioned,
game?
Yeah, I was
oh
gonna
my
ask.
gosh, Streets of Rage,
Oh, Streets of Rage,
Streets
classic.
of
Very
Rage.
classic.
Then I went into Duke Nukem 3D, Doom, like, yeah, I was
Love.
just obsessed. And then I would say I really got lost into all of the, like, beauty of the Final Fantasy franchise, and I
Of
played all of
course.
them, and
Yes.
yeah, that's one of my first love as well. What about you, Nick, actually? Can I ask you, like, what was your first game?
Well, I'll date myself, but it was, Pong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's
so, like, I
amazing.
I played Pong on a home console that my uncle brought home one day, and I was very young, and I like, blew my mind.
I
That was
love
my first
that.
introduction to video games. I didn't quite understand it. Didn't own the console, it, like, left, but that
Yeah,
was my
yeah.
first introduction, and then I got an NES, like, right at the early days of the NES, and
Oh, nice.
obviously, Mario that comes with it and Duck Hunt, so played a
Yeah.
lot of that, and then I sort of ventured out into all those games. But I will say, like, Final Fantasy, that series had a big impact
Yeah.
on me growing up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the reason why I think I got so deep into it is I'm French obviously, but I grew up in tiny French island called Réunion Island. So it's east of Madagascar in the middle of Indian Ocean in between Madagascar and Mauritius. And gaming was really my way to explore an adventure because, I mean, as you can imagine, living in a small island, you do the entire turn of the island in half a day. And when you're growing up, you're like, I just crave so much more. So that was kind of my way into like, let me do more and let me connect with other people.
Makes sense. And can you give us a bit of background of what you do, I guess, at Dentsu and
Yeah.
how, I guess, how your team was to come about?
So what's been interesting is that at Dentsu, so gaming has been around to a degree at Dentsu for a few years, but we really came together as a center of excellence in the past 2.5 years, almost like 3 years, I believe. And that was, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we came to be, but For me and my team, we focus on the global gaming strategy. So it's almost like the meat of everything that we do as a center of excellence in gaming. So what we end up doing is we work with both endemic and non-endemic gaming brands. And usually with the non-endemic gaming brands, we help them connect with endemic gaming publishers and connect with players in the way that feels really authentic and meaningful and culturally resonant, right? We know gamers very well. We are all gamers. Um, and because we really come from that space first and foremost, that's, what we strive to do at Dentsu is just making sure that all of the clients across industries can do it right in space.
Well, you guys are making some awesome impact, and it's exciting to see. But I just want to take one step back. I mean, looking at Dentsu, it's one of the biggest agencies in the world. I would say it's like a legacy agency. It's been around for a long time, doing a lot of traditional marketing. Like, I guess my question would be, why is Dentsu taking such a focus on gaming?
Yeah, I love that question. I think honestly it goes back to our origin stories. We were born in media in Japan in 1901, and our promise has always been that we're going to be innovating in ways that actually can move the needle for our clients. And that's what we call innovating to impact at Dentsu. And today that shows up in the full end-to-end model on what we do things across media, creative, CXM. So
Mhm.
we can choose really outcomes while staying at the front edge of what people and where people spend time. So we know that culture is the operating system today. It's the operating system of media and everything that we end up doing. And so when you think about allocating budget with that culture piece in mind,
Mhm.
gaming to us become a non-negotiable because we know that it's where identity and a lot of the fandom shows up daily. And when we know and we look at that pool and we talk about that with clients often, right? Like look at the billions of players that are here today. And I think Newzoo is reporting like almost like or projecting 3.7 billion gamers by the end of 2025. That's also why we thought about building a center of excellence for gaming at Dentsu is that realization that it's not niche anymore. And we all need
Mhm.
to understand that we live in that space where we need to destigmatize how we think about gamers and really just think about how can we sit in every single room as we're speaking about the next thing in planning for the brands, the next thing in creative ideation of customer experience across all of the categories. So for us, that realization of we just need to break through and just make sure that gaming is not a subculture anymore and that we can have everyone think about it as a behavioral set instead, right? So that's where our team steps in, and that's why we're in existence today at Dentsu. Is again just like making sure that this authentic piece and passion of culture exist across all of the planning that we do for brands.
Mhm.
That's awesome. I just have a quick follow-up. So, I mean, you guys understand it. You're explaining it to brands and you're building these campaigns. What percentage of the clients that you work with understand the significance of gaming going into these conversations? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a loaded question and that's a long one I because it really depends on the maturity of the brand, right? There are some brands that have done, as you very well know, like who have done very early on, like first to market opportunities within the gaming space, and that have had like a little bit of a taste of what that might mean. And there are others that, when you talk about gaming, might default to thinking about, oh, gaming is esports, and we need to slap our logo on, a couple of different teams and leagues and organization. Um, and it's really just like understanding what is that definition. It's a lot about speaking the same language at the end of the day, right? Like, what do you mean by gamers? Who are we talking to? How are we trying to engage with them? Um, and also, what is the current audiences that this specific brand is dealing with? So I think there's a lot of nuance in that question. It's based on brand maturity, definition within the brand teams, and kind of audience reality. And that's
Mhm.
how, yeah, that's how we're going to be thinking about it.
Why do you think brands are now getting like why now? Because it's not as if this is something new and that people have just starting to play games. But I'm just curious to understand what do you think are the biggest shifts that's happened like in the most recent years that would explain why brands are not getting involved? Was it all the pandemic that's done that, or is there other signals that also have supported that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are two things that really collided. One, you mentioned the pandemic. It really made gaming feel less like a pastime and more like a connective tissue. And that's really how I see it, right? Because we saw time spent spiking, that really reset how people socialized and discovered culture at that time. I looked back at some number and I saw that Nielsen, I think, was saying that 82% of consumers were playing games or watching gaming content during
Yes.
lockdowns, which is pretty wild. Second, I mean, think about it, but during that time and also right before the pandemic, that's when the metaverse era was emerging, right? And
Yeah, it was a bit of a hype.
metaverse was like the keyword in everybody's mouth. And it was a proof point because at that time, the reason why metaverse was so top of mind, I mean, there was like so many platforms that were starting to kind of
Mm.
bubble up at that time, but there was also those moments where Fortnite Epic Games with Fortnite came up with the Marshmallow concert in 2019, right before the pandemic hit, right? And then they kind of doubled down on it. They went into, hey, we're gonna make this Travis Scott concert, make a big moment out of it. So the astronomical moment with Travis Scott in Fortnite, I think it pulled in roughly, I think, almost 30 million unique attendees in April 2020. Then they followed that up with the Ariana Grande tour in
Yes.
2021, and that created those like huge tentpoles. And I think for brand, it was that kind of like reality check of, oh, this is actually a big moment. This is actually driving a lot of culture
Mhm.
and real IP moments and real measurable um, ways in for my brand within the gaming space or within the metaverse space, as we were talking about it at the time. Um, and at that time, we also saw in parallel, which is correlating with that, right, as metaverse spaces, that's when we saw Roblox really just starting to spike.
Yes.
With daily active going from 2020, 30 million daily active users to 50 million in 2021 to almost 120 today. Like, it's pretty right to think about that. But at that moment, that's when also a couple of brands started to say, hey, we're going to be first to market, Alo Yoga, Gucci, like as you're very familiar with all of those brands stepping into Roblox and starting to harness the power of, I think, press at the time and kind of like that hotness moment of, let's be the first in it, but also just realizing that there is an actual shift there, right?
Mhm.
And then with that, I think there was the creator piece, and that was also driven by the pandemic because everyone was watching gaming content. And so brands starting taking notice that creator program and creators moment were like way beyond just a one-off and that needed to be something that should be thought through over time.
Mhm.
So trying to kind of bring it all together to answer your question, why are brands leaning in now? I think it's because the reality is that the audience is there. The formats have been proven with all of the pandemic, moments that we've been seeing. And those like creators, scalable programs have also been proven in that space. So the shift that we've been living through is that brands are moving from, that those splashy first to more durable plays,
Mhm.
from thinking about how can I make gaming more of an ongoing part of my media or marketing strategy versus just seeking those like PR headlines.
And Magali, you alluded to this earlier that gaming is so broad, right? You got like esports and you've got UGC gaming platforms and you've got like AAA. You know, how should a brand approach that? There's so many lanes they can take. How do you help them identify what those strategies and those paths should be?
Yeah, I start with the audience first, always. Um, and when I say audience first, just so you know, I'm really allergic to forcing people into the generic gamer personas.
Mm.
I think those are
Exactly.
bad. I
It doesn't
think
mean anything. It's like someone that watches a movie. There's so many nuances.
exactly. I totally agree. Plus, I feel like every single brand, I mean, again, I would not ever stop saying that everybody is a gamer, Everybody is a gamer, is just figuring out how do they game and how do they play. And so we've brands and we know that they already have really rich audience segments with a lot of data points. So we start there. But we're going to go almost like a layer down. We're going to look at how do those people actually game? And when I say game, I don't mean just play, right? We're going to look at what do they watch, where do they hang out, how do
Hmm.
they like to connect with their peers, and of course, how do they like to play and what do they like to play. But if they're in the watch mode, we're going to lean into, how can we create those like creator programming moments that are going to move the needle. Maybe it's going to be thinking about more premium gaming media at that time so that we can have those moments to earn attention. And when they're ready to play, we're going to build lightweight, replayable mini games activation that could be a Roblox activation, etc. And when it's a connect moment, we're going to think about, spaces like Discord. We're going to think about more of those social spaces. And I want to call out also, again, Roblox and Fortnite as like a lot of those newer social media spaces, especially where gamer we know like to connect and spend a lot of time today. But truly, we're going to think about those different states. And there is like a slew of tactics that can and channel that we can activate against that. So it's not a one size fits all ever. It's going to be audience first. How do we extract the right insights? And how do we use that in tactics and in ways that is going to drive measurable impact for the brand?
I love that you already segmented. It's something that I've never thought about. It's not only segmented the audience about like demographic and who they are and how they play, but also their mindsets. So are they more in the space of socializing, or are they more in the space of like being entertained? I think that's quite an interesting way as well of looking at it, because as you mentioned, there's so many platforms in which a gamer will have different expectation from a brand. I wanted to maybe zoom in a little bit onto Roblox. So you mentioned, and I fully agree that this is also a new social platform, and Dentsu has been one of the agencies partners of Roblox. Can you tell us a little bit more about this partnership, and also why Roblox was a platform that Dentsu wanted to specifically focus on? And then maybe a follow-up question is whether there is another platform that you also have your eye on, additionally to Roblox.
Yeah, the short answer there is that, I mean, Roblox really fit our innovation DNA. I mean, that partnership was perfect for that. When they stood up their partner program and all of the immersive ads, we joined as a funding agency, the only holding co, I believe, at the time, so that we could learn and test new formats for client in a way that was evolving within a maturing environment and also just like a growing platform, because I think the community was, I mean, it every year it changed pretty drastically. But so we had all of those data points and it made a lot of sense. That gives us early access to format, third-party measurement, and again, first to market opportunity, which was perfect for what we want to do with our clients. Now, I do want to zoom out because like you said, and when you're asking the question about like what else, like what other platform moving forward, to us, Roblox is a pioneer but not the only bet ever, right? We're seeing the same trajectory happening elsewhere. Fortnite with e.l.f, they're evolving really fast. We are seeing that, a lot of the stuff that they're doing with like now including native item sales, etc. It's also something to consider, and that's something that we've been very close to. But also, let me talk about more of that future state. But as we're thinking about 2026, for instance, one of the space, and I'm going to just speak for myself and not just for Dentsu as a whole, but one of the space that really interests me is GTA 6. I believe that GTA 6 is going to become that next platform for
Yes.
UGC. And that's what all of the rumors are pointing to. And I think that they're really standing on the shoulder of what Roblox and Fortnite have been proving up until now. So for us, it's not a one platform approach. We're always platform agnostic at Dentsu. Uh, and we think about partnership with the consumer mindset first and foremost, for the benefit of our brands.
I'm aligned again with you on GTA. I think the moment that a platform starts to have a creator economy strategy, this is when it starts to become really interesting for agencies as well to develop those specific partnerships for brands.
Yeah, I'm also like blown away by the opportunities that GTA 6 will offer. So let's just see what happens.
Let's
I
just
guess we have
pray
to
that it's
wait.
next year. I think that's the only thing.
Hopefully they
Let's
don't
just pray that they actually release it next year. but we'll see.
Hopefully they don't kick it out another year.
Oh
Nah,
god.
We'll
I d
we'll
yeah.
see.
I mean, there's too much excitement already. We don't need more pressure.
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
fair.
no.
So I would say that I think when it comes to these large holding companies, Dentsu is leading, in my opinion, doing a lot in gaming. And we also see other stuff like Publicis and WPP also
Mm.
doing work as well. But what advice would you give to holdcos in general about the perspective on gaming and marketing?
Well, first, thank you so much. I love to see and hear that you think that Dentsu is one of the leaders there. I think it speaks to all of the work that we've been doing in the team. But I would say that I think the only way that our agency should look at marketing in gaming is through that community lens first, right? And that's something that, I talked about it at length, but we just want to make sure that we're starting with that consumer and, gamer hat on first and foremost. And that's how I truly think that that's how you earn your way into culture. People can smell inauthentic a mile away. So the work has to be built with that community in mind at all times. Now, I also want to go back to the reality that I cannot speak for other holding companies, right? My only experience has been at Dentsu in a big holding co. But I can tell you that at Dentsu, we lean in again because of our DNA, because of the fact that we are born in media, that we're completely obsessed with culture, and
Mm.
that we are set up in the way where we know we can evolve really fast. We have got that scale to actually do it properly across a multitude of areas. Um, and because we're platform agnostic, we can really be centered around what are the players expecting first and foremost, and then focus on platform and format next. Two things that really makes a big difference to us is our craft paired with speed. We know that culture moves really fast today. So for us, it's all about staying on top of that, making sure that we are testing fast, making sure that we are failing fast in some instances if we need
Mhm.
to just have those learnings and be able to iterate really fast. And the other piece is, you know, having some measurement with teeth. So brand lift and thinking about incrementality on paid, thinking about clean
Mhm.
attribution with creators, and how can we move the needle for brands and actually provide real outcomes is also the name of the game for us. So we are making sure that we're following the rules of the current ecosystem and platform that we have to play with, but we also make sure that we understand what are the boundaries that we have to play with, what can we actually measure, how can we break through the mold and do things differently in some instances, and again, how can we learn and iterate in a way that moves at the speed of culture.
I mean, it sounds. I guess gaming sounds almost like the magic solution, right? If you're also trying to reach a Gen A or Gen Z audience, if you're tapping into culture, you're tapping into environments that are valuable to them, and they're spending time in those environments. You spoke a little bit about data points and measurement. I do wonder sometimes why we're not seeing more brands, I guess, going inside the space. Do you think what is, I guess, the like what's your thoughts on like what are I guess the challenges or the things that need to change within the industry to see more brands coming into the space with a bit more confidence?
Yeah, so I don't think data is the blocker. I think the mindset is, frankly. I think that more brands are wired for control. We know
Mm,
that it's true across category, and more thinking about like polished assets and fixed narrative and tight brand guidelines. And we know that with gaming, and especially within those UGC spaces, it flips that on its head, right? You're entering a space where the players are making the content. Everybody is a creator today. They're all remixing your ideas, they're moving your story forward. So that means that brands need to be okay relinquishing some of that control and kind of playing by the community rules.
Well said. And last question for me, Magali, I'd love for you to give us a prediction. How do you see this space changing, like in the next 5 or 10 years,
Yeah.
from an advertising and marketing standpoint? Like, how do you think brands are going to be involved in gaming, and how do you think culturally gaming will evolve?
Yeah, I think if the last couple of years have been any indication, UGC is becoming king, and UGC platform is becoming king because it is the new social media spaces for newer generation and even more maturing audiences now, right? So I think the center of gravity is going to be UGC, and with that, I think it's less going to be about reach for brand. I think it's going to be about participation, and I think engagement is going to be the key success metric. Um, and I think what that means for brand is that we need to design systems that celebrate fans and that celebrates all of their stories and their plays in a way that walks into your media funnel. So it's how do you create sort of the brand guidelines to give that freedom so that the consumer can actually lead your story and you can kind of step away and let them create your brand assets.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a future I would love to live in.
I love it. What about you, Nick? What are you thinking for the future? I'm curious.
The future, I mean, I think I agree with everything that you said. I think that there's just no stopping it. I think you look at attention. Where are the new generations going to be spending their time? And I think in general, they're going to be consuming media that is interactive. I think flat top-down media, there's just going to be a little bit less of that. I still think there's going to be a place, but with technology and immersion, there's some sort of like interactivity is going to be everywhere. And I think brands are going to have to figure out how to like insert themselves into those spaces, and the concept of a commercial is going to become way less relevant in the coming years.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. I can't
Nice.
wait to see what Sohorse actually has in the work for those next steps.
We are experimenting with a lot of fun stuff, a lot of
We
fun immersive marketing, which it's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Love it.
But yeah, but Magali, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your insights, and we're excited to see what you and the Dentsu team continue to do and what impact that you're going to be making over the next few years.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope we can continue the all of those conversation later and really love what you guys are doing too at Sohorse and can't wait to see what you have in the works for the future.
Right on.
Thanks, Magali.
Yes. Thank you so much. Let's go back to the show. And we're back. Albane, what did you think about that interview?
I'm so glad that we managed to get Magali. I know she's incredibly busy, so I feel really privileged that we had her on the show. I think my key takeaway here is probably how it's nothing new to be fair, but it's just a good reminder, I think, for agencies or brands that like how Dentsu is looking at gaming as part of consumers' fandom and tapping into just overall fandom, whether that is being sports, music, entertainment, gaming is also a key pillar. So I think I just really like, I guess, how she integrated that as part of an overall like entertainment strategy. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. I mean, she's obviously really sharp and understands this space well. I always enjoy talking to her. And I think in general, I love what Dentsu is doing. I think they're one of the companies that's leaning in the most. One of these
Hmm.
large, agency holdcos, and they've got a plan and they're executing on it. So I love seeing it, and I'm curious to see kind of how that grows like in the coming years.
Absolutely. And now I'm incredibly excited. This is your turn to do your hit, miss, and bet.
Let's go.
What do
Okay.
you have for us?
So my hit, I don't know if you saw this, but PlayStation did a collaboration with Reebok to do a 30th anniversary. Um,
I did see it.
you saw it, right?
It's yes, yeah.
Super cool. So it's
Yes.
celebrating 30 years of gaming and 90s culture with these limited exclusive sneakers to honor the legacies of both Reebok and PlayStation. And
Hmm.
the designs are super sick. They're basically the colors and the stylings of the old school PlayStation console. And
Yeah.
those of you listening that were too young and missed that whole thing, it's basically like a simple gray rectangle that had some little uh, circular shape, and the design was just very simple. But this sort of look and feel and colors have been ported over to these shoes, and it reminds me of the console when I look at it. And I was just over the weekend, I was in Costco and they were selling the new PlayStation. And I looked at this thing and I was like, I don't even recognize this. This looks like a
Mm.
spaceship from the future. But let's move on to my miss this week. My miss, unfortunately, is the new Apple Vision Pro. So did you
So
see this
I didn't
announcement?
even know they released
Yeah.
a new one. I
Well,
didn't
look,
even see it.
it's not out yet. I think it's been announced and it's coming soon or whatever.
Okay.
But the big changes on this one, it has a M5 chip inside, which is a better chip than the current one, and that's gonna hopefully allow for better performance. I would say in
Mhm.
general, the performance is already really good. I have
I was
one,
gonna say why, like,
right? So it's like one of those things. It's like an iPhone upgrade. It's like, yeah, it's better, but better from good is what, right?
yeah,
So there's that, and then the other big announcement thing that they're bringing out is a more comfortable headband. And right now, the band, it kind of wraps on the back of your head.
right, yes.
This one is going to go on top of your head and on back of your head. So now you have more things like obstructing your head.
Okay. So
Um,
the same as Meta, essentially.
yeah, and it's supposed to like balance the weight a little bit more, so it's more comfortable for
Okay.
wear to wear for longer periods of time. They've also extended the battery life a little bit, like, not massively, but, you get a little bit more charge in there. So those were, like, the interesting things, but there's, like, 2 strikes against it right out the gate. Because 1, it's even heavier than before. They did not
So
drop
that's why
weight,
you
they
need the
added
bed.
weight.
It's because it's actually gonna come. It's not gonna be more comfortable. You're just gonna be able, like, you have more stuff to like weigh onto your head.
Dude, I'm like, yo, I knew that was the next step they wanted to do is to like make it a lot lighter because that was such the arrogant move from Apple is like, let's use the titanium or whatever material so it looks sleek and feels amazing. We don't care about what it weighs, it's just the superior perfect glass, the perfect whatever. And I mean, from a user standpoint, that's not what we want. Like we need it to be light. If it's too heavy
Yeah.
for our heads, there's a problem there. So surprised that they didn't like try to fix that, or they didn't release a cheaper headset. Because if this was like a less powerful one for half the price, I think that would have like gotten some traction. But instead, this one has the same price as last time, $3,500, which is way more money than anyone wants to pay for these things. So I think
No.
it's a little bit of a miss. And then my bet, just going back to the news story from earlier about how commerce is coming into these chatbots, I do think that this will become a new way to shop and people will adopt it quicker than we think. I do think a lot of people will just sort of start leveraging and leaning on these AI agents to help them with their shopping, whether that's shopping for food, on a weekly or like as like a stylist, like an AI stylist. Like
Yeah,
this is the
absolutely.
way I want to look for this event. I need a bunch of options, like this is what's interesting to me. And then they'll just start feeding results. But, I would say like in the next 6 months, I would not be surprised if we saw Amazon, Shopify, and Walmart integrated into all the leading AI chatbots across the landscape. Well, we'll revisit it in 6 months and see how wrong or right I was. But
Yes.
that's a wrap
That
for
is
this
it.
week. Yeah.
Exactly. That is it for this week. So thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And next week, we're excited to have Ross Crump, founder and CEO of the social creative agency Ardent, on the show. So that's going to be good.
That's right. That's it. Edward, please read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Hosted by Albane, Prioux and Nick Hill. Our show today was produced by myself, Evan Rigu, with creative direction by Joey Jerder and Javed Kazmi, and audio engineering by Solomon Kiyu, as well as a massive shout out to Ben Caro. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.